Buenos días, clase. Today we will be learning the verbs ser, to be, and ir, to go, in the preterite, meaning in the past. My name is Angela, and my objective is to help you learn Spanish. Before I go on, please give me a like, subscribe if you haven't yet, that way I can continue creating content for you. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. You've already learned the preterite tense, so how to transform any verb, any regular verb, into the past. And so for that, as you know, you need to remove the ending, whether that be the AR ending or the ER or IR ending, and then add any of these endings that you see on your screen, depending on what you want to say. So for example, take a verb, estudiar, to study. Estudiar ends in ar. I take out that ar, and if I wanted to say I studied, yo estudié, I would just add that e instead of the ar. Yo estudié. Vivir, to live. I lived in Dallas, for example. Yo viví en Dallas. So that's how regular verbs would be conjugated in the preterite tense. Now, like I said before, today we're learning ser, to be, and ir, to go. However, these endings that I just showed you that you learned for the preterite tense do not apply to ser and ir. Why? Because ser and ir are irregular. What does it mean to be irregular? An irregular verb does not follow rules. Okay? So, what does it mean for us? It means that you need to learn them by heart because you cannot rely on the rules. So, here are the conjugations that you'll need to memorize. For ser, yo fui, tú fuiste, usted fue, él fue, ella fue. Nosotros fuimos. Vosotros fuisteis. Ustedes fueron. Ellos fueron. Now, if you are used to learning the Spanish from Spain, then you'll use vosotros. But if you're learning the Spanish from Latin America, like you are if you're in my class, then you can just ignore the vosotros conjugation because you'll be using ustedes, you all. And that is the last conjugation, which is fueron. Let's go to ir, to go. Yo fui, tú fuiste, él fue, ella fue, nosotros fuimos, vosotros fuisteis, ustedes fueron, ellos fueron. So take a minute, pause this video, and then take a minute to memorize them. So you have to memorize, if you're learning the Spanish from Latin America, 5 conjugations. If you're learning the Spanish from Spain, 6. Okay, so just learn fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fueron. So as you can see, the conjugations for each of these verbs are exactly the same. What does that mean? I mean, how can we tell them apart in conversation? So you'll be able to tell them apart in conversation with context. So you'll know what the conversation is about. Then you'll figure out from the rest of the phrase or from what the topic is whether the speaker is using ser, meaning to be, or ir, meaning to go. Also, we're learning these 2 verbs in the pretérito. And as a reminder, we use pretérito when we're narrating things that occurred, actions that happened at a specific time, at a specific occasion, or at a time that is already completed in your life. So, let's see an example. Pedro fue un verdadero caballero. Pedro was a true gentleman. So, ser, as you know, we use it for identity. But in this case, when we're talking about the past, we're talking about how somebody behaved or a role that this person played. In this case, we're talking about how someone behaved. Ella fue a la iglesia. So even if you didn't hear the rest of the conversation, just by the second half of the phrase, you know that this means to go. She went to church. Now let's take a look at some examples. Just like you did when you use ir, to go, in the present tense, we use it the same way in the past, meaning you will need, when you're saying that somebody went somewhere, we need the preposition a. Fui a la iglesia. And then right after a, you need the noun that comes with its own article. Yo fui a la iglesia. Now, the noun could be masculine, in this case, parque, el parque. So I don't have here fui a el parque, because anytime you have a plus el, you can have a contraction and say fui al parque. In this case, plural, a las tiendas, plural feminine. Fui a los conciertos, plural masculine. You could also say things like fuimos a dos conciertos, where you have quantity. Fuiste a Nueva York? Did you go to New York? Notice that when I have the name of the city, I don't have an article. I don't need it. Fui a la casa de María. In English, we could say, oh, I went to Maria's, meaning I went to her house. Remember, in Spanish, we don't have that apostrophe S to express ownership. Instead, we have to say that something is of somebody. In this example, the literal translation would be, I went to the house of María. Fui a la casa de María. Lastly, I can also use to go with an action. So, for example, what somebody went to do. In this example, Juan y Elisa fueron a comer. Notice that fueron is conjugated. Comer is in its most basic form. It ends in er. I didn't change it because fueron is already conjugated. One thing I wanted to mention is that there might be an occasion where you hear somebody say, me fui. Instead of yo fui, they might say me fui. They could also say yo me fui. So I wanted to mention this because me does not mean yo. In this case, it's like saying, I took me home. Yo me fui. So if you hear somebody say me fui, that means I left. It's used when the act of going started. So I up and left. Yo me fui. Versus fui a la fiesta. I went to the party. Now notice that so far I've been using fui, fuiste, and so on. I haven't been using yo fui. Okay, that's how most people will use it without the pronoun. Unless, like I said before, it needs to be clarified. Okay, so let's go ahead and test your knowledge. Go ahead and fill in the blank. Take a minute to fill in the blank for these, and then I'll give you the answers. All right, yo fui a clases. Ella fue sincera. Nosotros fuimos de vacaciones. Tú fuiste un buen estudiante. Usted fue al dentista ayer, ¿no? Ellos fueron al cine. Okay, how about this next two? ¿Dónde fuiste en la tarde? Now you're answering a question. So how would you answer that question? Fui al mecánico. Número 2. ¿Fuiste el abanderado de tu colegio? Abanderado is the person who carries the flag bearer. So if you are the best student and there's a parade, you will have the honor of carrying the flag and you'll be in front of everybody else. Fui. Número 3. ¿Tú y tu hermana fueron a comer comida china? Sí, fuimos. ¿Fuiste elegido para ser capitán? Were you elected to be the captain of your team? Sí, fui. Or if you want to answer in the negative, no, no fui. Lastly, go ahead and answer in the comments. ¿Dónde fuiste el domingo? El domingo fui a la iglesia. ¿Y tú dónde fuiste el domingo? If you learned something new, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe. Adiós amigos, sigan estudiando, les mando un abrazo y hasta la próxima. Adiós.